The other day, my husband asked me, "So what are you working on?" And I'm like, "Aethon Shaan, obviously." But then he asks, "Well, why isn't his armor black?" Well, you don't have to start from complete black to have interesting black armor. Let me show you how I do it. Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name's Joanna and I paint miniatures. Today we're going to be working on Aethon Shaan. Aethon Shaan is the chapter master of the Raven Guard, who's notorious for living in the shadows. Dark armor, moody, goth. But I wanted to show you today that you can take something that is really dark and take that armor and make it look a little more interesting, putting color into your figure. Make him stand out on the tabletop like he should. We're going to cover OSL, glazing, one of my favorite techniques, how to paint white armors, and giving your mini a little more presence on the tabletop by building up the base that it comes with. So let's hop to it. Assembly time. Clippers, knife, and some glue. Remember, when you're cutting your pieces off of your sprue, give yourself about 1/16 of an inch or 1.5 millimeters of space. Do not cut flush to the actual piece itself. Go back in and recut it. This prevents things like tears or big old holes in the piece that you're cutting out. Then use a hobby blade to kind of clean things up. Cut off anything that the clippers didn't get and remove those mold lines. Go back in with a sanding stick just to make sure that everything's nice and smooth. Glue it together. You can use any type of plastic cement you like. It's completely up to you. I still don't know what this is supposed to be. Is it smoke? Is it rot? Is it fungus? I don't know. If you know, put it in the comments and let me know, because I've painted this a couple of different ways. I've seen it painted so many different ways. I don't know what it's supposed to be, but I guess it can be whatever we want. I think that every Primarch or character deserves a better base. Give it a little extra presence on your playmat. Build it up a little bit. So that's all I'm doing here is I'm adding some cork, giving it a higher foundation, and it gives you more room to play around and add more things to. It's up to you. It's your model, your base. You do whatever you like. I love basing. I think it's one of the funnest parts about painting models. Everyone's different. That's what I like to do. Another pet peeve of mine is that if you're going to use cork, make sure you make it not look like cork. Dock off all of those little extra edges and corners, rip them off with a pair of pliers, and then go back in and add all sorts of rocks and sand. Just make it not look like it's a couple of pieces of cork glued to a base. There are some applications where it looks really good, like if you're doing a concrete base for a more urban terrain type thing, go for it. Alright, time to prime. I'm using Vallejo Surface Primer in black. And black is really boring, so I actually prime my black models out in a combination of other colors. So for this one, I'm using a dark plum and dark jade from Pro Krill. So I'm doing an underpainting with the dark plum from one side and underneath, and then I'm going to go back in from above with the dark jade. I dilute all of my paints about a 1-to-1 with a thinner. This helps prevent clogs in your airbrush. I also use a paint strainer. This really helps as well. I'm using my Iowata, which is kind of like my workhorse for anything that I need to prime and or do base coats on. Alright, let's focus in on these sashes. I'm going to use primary red and wine red on these sashes to get a nice solid color. I think I gave each one of these sashes about 3 coats. I like using heavy body acrylic. You just gotta thin it down a little more, but I feel like it gives me all the control when it comes to how thin I want my paints to be. Then I just start glazing. Now the glazing, I'm using the wine red, and I gradually add in a little bit more black towards the end. In all, I think I
counted about 12 different passes with the glaze. Each glaze layer covers just a little bit less, pulling towards the bottom of the cloak where I want the concentration of the color to be. Go back and recount it. If I'm wrong and it's not 12, let me know in the comments. My glazes are always really, really thin. I go really slow with my glazing. It gives me the smoothest, creamiest little blends that you can imagine. Basically, my paint's dirty paint water. It is so thin that it takes so many layers. If you want to move faster in your glazing process, make it a little thicker. You're going to run the risk of getting lines between layers, but hey, you do you. Also make sure that each layer you apply is completely dry before you go in and try to add another layer. No Citadel model is complete without a little edge highlighting, so that's what I'm doing here. I added a little bit of yellow to my base primary red to give it a brighter, more orange color, and I'm just going into the edges and using the side of my brush and then adding a little bit of a fabric texture hashing on each of the edges with the same paint. Alright, for the freehand on the symbols, I'm just using a mixture of a heavy body white acrylic paint and acrylic ink. Make it nice and thin, not thin like a glaze consistency, but thin enough to let it flow off of your brush easily, and it helps you to do your freehand without too much interruption. I'm just copying the box art at this point. I have no idea what any of these symbols mean. It's all Greek to me. Alright, everybody's favorite NMM. I do my NMM in two different ways, and it really just depends on the mood I'm in for the day. So I'm going to show you both. For this particular one, I go in really chunky and then I glaze down to blend it in. It really just depends on what it is that you're feeling like you want to do. What is easiest for you probably is the way to do it. I find both ways pretty easy, but this one, it looks a little scary at first, but trust me, it looks much better in the end. This is the way I did my Sisters of Battle army. I discovered this method a long time ago, and it seems to work. So you're going to give yourself a primary highlight following the shape of your armor panel, and just give yourself a nice chunky highlight. And then go back in and start glazing in on the edges with a slightly darker version of that color. You always want to give yourself at least two different lights. You want your primary highlight, but then you want like a secondary, what they call bounce light, a little farther away and a little thinner. This kind of helps sell that non-metallic metal look a little better, and makes it look really nice. Now I'm doing a blue highlight on the upper left side of the figure, and then a purple highlight on the lower right side, following the same base coating that I had done before. And here you see me going in and blending out those harsher edges and glazing it down. Now this way is the other way. I am going to glaze up, so I start much thinner, just like we did with the sashes, and I slowly build that color up, and it really just depended on the mood that I was in at the time I was painting. And they both work really well. The same concept. Well, a primary and then a thinner one just to the side to give it that bounce highlight. And again, follow the shape of your armor panel. Of course, you may be thinking, well, Joanna, I thought his armor was black. And it is. And this is just a way to add some color. But trust me, there is one more step that I take at the end of each of my black armor color shifts. And I'm going to show you that in the end. But first, let's go in and add some specular highlights. I also give each edge of the armor panel a nice bright edge highlight. Alright, this is where I bring all of that armor back to black. I'm going to go in and glaze in a very thin layer of diluted black ink all over my black armor panels. And I give this about 2, sometimes 3 coats, just depends on the thickness of my glaze and the results that I want in the end. The last step is just go in and reinforce all of those specular highlights with a bright white ink. For the white armor panels, I'm just going to use a mixture of Liquitex Heavy Body Acrylic in neutral gray and white. This gives a good base foundation when painting over black. I give this about 2 to 3 coats for solid coverage. All of the upward facing panels get a slightly brighter gray highlight, but that's as bright as I go for this white armor. I then sneak in a little bit of a black panel lining just under the creases around some of the elements of this helmet. And oh, look at that, time for more glazing. I'm just using that dark jade in a glaze consistency, and I'm working that into the shadows of the white armor panels. For all of the edges of these white armor panels, I just go in with some darker gray. It kind of gives it a nice crisp finished edge and allows all those upper facing panels read a little brighter. And then of course that final white highlight definitely sells the effect that this is supposed to be white armor, hitting all the edges and the rivets. The power claws are given a couple of coats of a bright blue base coat, which is just some of that dark jade mixed into white. I then glaze in some extra white ink into the base of each of the power claws to give a little more of a brighter edge towards the inner section of that power claw. And then, oh my gosh, more glazing. We're going to glaze in some dark jade mixed in with just a little bit of black into those power claws until it gets as dark as we want it to go. I'm not particularly worried about the smoothest blend here because later we're going to add in some lightning bolts that are going to disguise any of those glaze lines. Feathers, I keep it pretty simple. I go in and add a little bit of black just to kind of deepen them up, and then highlight in little hash marks of light blue and light purple. I like to play on the idea that raven feathers tend to be a little iridescent in the sunlight, and It's a great way to keep all of those colors working out throughout the model, that purple and the blue. All of my raven skulls throughout the model get the same treatment. They get a base coat of a mid-brown. I wash everything down with some of that dark jade to kind of cool them down, and then a highlight of a brighter ivory, and I call those done. For the servitors, I just try to work through them as quickly as I can, keeping it nice and simple, just some base coat with some gray and ivory for the banners and the wings, a little bit of a wash into the crevices with some dark jade and black, and a little bit of dark brown in the corners of the scrolls. And then I highlight with some brighter gray and brighter ivory on the scrolls. Nice and simple. For the script, just a little bit of brown black ink, thin down nice and flowy, and a little bit of squiggly, drink some caffeine, and you're good to go. I add in a few random red marks to suggest some bigger, brighter characters, but nothing complicated. For the raven on his shin and up on his chest, I just give everything a quick couple of coats of that medium gray, same as before, just to kind of block them out. I later go in and do a final highlight in each of them with a little bit of the light blue and light purple on the corresponding sides. So purple on the right side and blue on the left side to match the direction of the purple and blue that I had added in at the very beginning. The first time I recorded this glowing effect, the footage was absolutely awful. So I'm going to go ahead and paint it out and start again so you can see it. The first thing I do is just add some white ink into the grading on each of these power packs. All right, let's move over to the airbrush. I'm going to do a 1-to-1 ratio of white ink and thinner, and I'm going to shoot this into the intake and outtake ports of this power jet. I'm also going to add a little bit to the helmet on either side where you're going to get glow, and some of the shoulder feathers and skulls as well. Next, I move on to some Vallejo Game Color Fluo Orange, and this is going to cover up all of the white I just did. Last is some Pro Curl Bright Pyrite Red, and I'm just going to concentrate this into the center of each of the previous fluo orange areas. I do not want to cover up all of that orange. After that, we move back to the table. For both the intake and outtake ports, I follow the same steps. I first start with some white ink to reestablish the brightest points of light in each. I use warm yellow and bold pyrite red by Pro Curl, and I thin them down just like the white ink I was using before. I just start adding in some of that red first, and then I slowly build up with a mixture of the yellow and the red, going through red to orange to bright yellow, and then finally with a bright yellow mixed with white to give it a nice bright finish at the end. Make sure you allow each layer to dry completely before you add another layer on top of it. I went in and I blacked out some of the overspray on the exhaust port in the back and left some glow effect like it had seeped through or around the corners of the cutouts in the glow or cutouts in the jetpack so that it looked like the light was shining through and it was more or less a cast shadow on the outer edges of the exhaust port. The last step is to dry brush in a mixture of that pyrite red with some black onto the in ports and out ports of the jetpack. I did forget to film it, but I went in and glazed in some gray onto the helmet where the glow effect was just a little too strong. This helped to soften that overpowering glow effect and made it a little more visually convincing. For the base, I'm just going to go in with a variety of ivory and blue and purple and just kind of splosh them around all over this smoke stuff just to kind of keep it interesting. Again, I have no idea what this stuff's supposed to be, so I just kind of did what looked cool, I guess. Again, if you know what this stuff's supposed to be, let me know. For all of the metallic bits, I just used lead belcher and Runefang steel air paints. It keeps it simple. They're already thinned down perfectly. I don't have to thin anything down. That's why I like using the air paints by Citadel. They just work perfectly that way. And I just kept it simple. I gave everything a wash with that dark jade mixture that I used earlier on the servitor wings and skulls, and it kept everything nice and simple. All of the dirt and rocks, again, very, very simple. Brown and gray, and then a dry brush of ivory and a homemade wash that I've made in the past a long time ago, following a recipe given by Black Magic Craft, I believe. He does a really good homemade wash, so you're not using all of your expensive Nuln and Agrax earth shades from Citadel for large terrain pieces. The rust is done with Dirty Down Rust Effects. I love this stuff. I think it looks great. I water it down about 50-50 and then apply it on, and then I take a wet brush without any of the rust effect on it, and I kind of feather out the edges with some water before it's fully dried, and I keep it simple and call it done with that. Adding in some grass tufts at the end, and then the last step is to finish off your base with a little bit of black paint, and you're good.
Well, there you go. I hope he looks a little more interesting to you now. If you know anybody who's working on black armor or white armor who wants to try OSL or any of the techniques I showed today, share this video with them. Also hit like and subscribe. That way you can come back and see more. of the things that I like to create and paint on the tabletop. Give any of these techniques a try. Any of them will help your chapter masters or characters stand out on the tabletop. They don't have to be boring. They can be fun. The whole purpose of miniature painting is to have fun. So try new things. And until then, I will see you next time. Bye-bye.